Hey guys, Jen here. So we're gonna look into something else, as I've said ad nauseum. It is my effort to show both sides of a thing, situation, person, event, and discern it properly. Now, it is said that Jesus told us, "Judge not, lest you be judged," which is true. We're supposed to take care of our own self first. But we're also not to push our brothers and sisters to stumble or allow them to continue stumbling. We are supposed to approach them and talk to them, and this is all laid out in the Bible, but, people argue. It seems to be what we do. And I thought the Bible was pretty clear about certain things myself, and people have to understand it's also a chronological thing. The further along that they went and the more people that they spoke to, the different cultures they were exposed to and the different ways they had to explain things to people because of the different cultures and the way that they were brought up and their environment. I'm going to go over this now because it is the other side of the Latter-day Saints, the Mormon persecution. And it's worth looking into because, again, I posted a live video. If you didn't see it yet, it was kind of an experiment. I apologize that I wasn't totally, prepared. I mean, I was prepared, but I wasn't sure if it was working throughout the process, so who knows. But thank you if you watched it. If you haven't watched it yet, please go check it out, or you might not understand this video. But again, I like to show both sides of a thing, and this world will often call biblical heroes villains and the Bible evil. We need to remember that the world often vilifies and villainizes God's people. And as above, so below. Well, yes. Something that is bound in heaven is bound on earth. Something that is loosed in heaven is loosed on earth. And Christ gave that power to Peter and that authority to the saints, through Peter, through the church. And so we are God's people. And for whatever reason, we are persecuted/prosecuted throughout this life at certain times. And again, though, we need to be careful and we need to be mindful of our research and what we put out there. And it's another reason I'm careful, too, is because God doesn't judge you by what you don't know. But he does judge you if you know a thing, if you understand a thing, if you comprehend it, if you're aware of it, and you're still going against it. Or if you know you're in sin and you're not doing anything to try at least and get out of it. So anyways, I had no idea this existed. I didn't know, I stumbled upon it on accident. This is another little bit of a nasty bit of American history that they did not teach us. Now, again, I found it originally on Wikipedia, but you can look it up. I believe that it can be found on congress.gov, but don't quote me on that. If we have time, I might show you that. But again, I'm going to be posting a few videos from the past and new ones within the next couple of days because, again, things are kind of tightening up around Ohio. I told you guys this was going to happen. That's actually one of the older videos I'm going to upload. I have access to some different ones now because I downloaded an app that I used to have, and ironically, it saves all that stuff. So it was still there when I opened this app. And, I said all this was coming. God made me aware that all of these things were coming. And I said that the infrastructure was going to be used, that different points of our country were going to be allegedly attacked and undermined. The stability of our infrastructure would be undermined so that we could not travel and or communicate with people outside of our direct district or area, and we would not know actually truly what was happening in other parts of our country. I've said that ad nauseum since 2018, and it started occurring at the end of 2019, and now everybody should be able to see that this is something that is legit. So it wasn't just me pulling things out of the air. It is me praying and meditating and then sitting quietly listening for that inner voice of God that is within us all, I believe. So what is Executive Order 44? Missouri Executive Order 44, commonly known as the Mormon Extermination Order. This is sickening. Like, I can't even believe, I don't know. I just don't know anymore. Was an executive order issued on October 27th, 1838 by then Governor of Missouri, Liburn Boggs. The order was issued in the aftermath of the Battle of Crooked River, a clash between Mormons and a unit of the Missouri State Militia in northern Ray County, Missouri, during the 1838 Mormon War. Wow, so that says a lot. Like we need to unpack a little bit of that. First of all, this is a war I've never heard of. Never heard of this in school. Never heard of this from my parents. Never heard of it. So if you've heard of it, please do comment below. If you were taught this in school, if you're from the South and it's just a part of the history that you're aware of, please let me know. I was born in Pennsylvania. I now live in northeastern Ohio, and this is all new to me. Again, I've told you, I've lived quite an abusive but sheltered life from certain things, and I've never heard of this. So, first of all, they clashed with a militia. It was a state militia, okay? During a Mormon war, which I never heard of, and it was something that happened in the aftermath of the Battle of Crooked Run. Never heard of any of this. Claiming that the Mormons had committed open and avowed defiance of the law and had made war upon the people of Missouri. Governor Boggs directed, and I love how they don't say what did they do? What was their defiance of what law? I'm really curious if it has something to do with God and, or, as they say, taking oaths and things like that. Because as I went over in the live stream, as we found out, during the searches, that it seems that not taking oaths and these things were taken seriously by the Mormons in the beginning, and that that made the government mad for some reason. And so let's dig into that. The Mormons must be treated as enemies and must be exterminated or driven from the state if necessary for the public peace. Their outrages are beyond all description. The militia and other state authorities, General John B. Clark among them, used the executive order to violently expel the Mormons from their lands in the state following the capitulation, which in turn led to their forced migration to Nauvoo, Illinois. And there's Liburn Boggs. I find it ironic that it's Executive Order 44, that it's those two numbers together. That's ironic. The order was supported by most Northwest Missouri citizens, but was questioned or denounced by a few. However, no determination of the order's legality was ever made. On June 25, 1976, Governor Kit Bond issued an executive order rescinding the extermination order. Wow. So it went on until 1976. So does that mean, I don't even want to know what that means. Does that mean that no Mormons stepped foot in Missouri that whole time? Or if they did, they were still legally allowed to be murdered? I'd like to know, and this is why you have to pay attention to certain laws. We might only recognize God above our heads. God is our authority. But that's not what the world thinks. And if they start making executive orders against Christ followers, we need to be aware. And they did just, Biden removed protection from Christians being persecuted in Nigeria. And a woman was brutally stoned for saying simply, when somebody asked her how good she did, how she did so good on her test, she replied, Jesus, in a text, allegedly. Now, again, we're saying we're relying on these machines, and I've told you that I know I'm not even reaching my actual family or friends because it's the same person every time I message out. You can tell by how somebody types, how they write, how they talk to you, and especially the fact that they can't answer any questions I ask them. Hey, how are your kids? Nothing but crickets. How's the family? Nothing but crickets. Especially if I interject, hey, have you seen this person? Da-da-da-da-da. Nothing. I get nothing from my own family. And I know that certain relatives wouldn't do that to me. That my one cousin promised my dad that he would watch after me. These people are going to have a lot to answer for doing things like this. The ones who are doing these things. So, that went on until 1976. That is ludicrous. I can't believe this. That it was legal to murder somebody because of their religion. However, if somebody is committing, heinous acts, if they're murdering children, there's a point, right? There's a point to where certain things are justified or justifiable in the eyes of God. I won't say anymore. I'm a pacifist unless somebody is trying to take my life, then I think it's just our instinct to protect ourselves. So let's check this out real quick. The Mormon War, what is that? Now, here's the thing. Joseph Smith, he lived until, I think I looked it up. I'm going to have to look it up again for you guys, but I think he was alive during this. He was assassinated shortly, right after these things occurred. Also known as the Missouri-Mormon War, was a conflict between Mormons and non-Mormons in Missouri from August to November 1838, the first of the 3 Mormon Wars. Are you kidding me? 3 Mormon Wars? Location, Missouri, United States, Caldwell County, Carroll County, Daviess County, Livingston County. Result, Missourian victory. Mormons expelled from Missouri and resettled in Nauvoo, Illinois. Belligerents, non-Mormon settlers. Okay, let's go down a bit. Danites, they think they're from the tribe of Dan, I believe. 22 killed and unknown wounded, unknown civilian deaths. What does that mean? 22 killed and unknown wounded, unknown civilian deaths. That doesn't tell us anything. Members of the Latter-day Saint movement founded by Joseph Smith of gradually minded. Okay, let's skip down. The Mormons were evicted from Jackson County in 1833 and resettled in new counties nearby, where tensions again grew and attempts to evict them resumed. On August 6, 1838, the war began following a brawl at an election in Gallatin, resulting in increased organized violence between Mormons and non-Mormons, backed by the Missouri Volunteer Militia in northwestern Missouri. The Battle of Crooked River in late October led to Liburn Boggs, the governor, issuing Executive Order 44, ordering the Mormons to leave Missouri or be killed. Okay, so they had to leave or be killed. Now, take that with a grain of salt, how many actually listened to that last part. On November 1st, 1838, Smith surrendered at Far West, the church's headquarters, ending the war. Smith was charged for treason but escaped custody and fled to Illinois with the remainder of the estimated 10,000 Missouri Mormons, establishing the new settlement of Nauvoo. During the conflict, 22 people were killed, 3 Mormons and 1 non-Mormon at Battle of Crooked Creek. 1 Mormon prisoner fatally injured while in custody, and 17 Mormons at Hound's Mill. 3 Mormons and 1 non-Mormon. So most of them were Mormons. And an unknown number of non-combatants died due to exposure and hardship as a result of being expelled from their homes in Missouri. All of the conflicts in the Mormon War occurred in a corridor 100 miles to the east and northeast of Kansas City. Shortly after what Mormons consider to be the restoration of the gospel in 1830, Smith stated that he had received a revelation that the second coming of Christ was near, that the city of Zion would be near the town of Independence in Jackson County, Missouri, and that his followers were destined to inherit the land held by the current settlers. If ye are faithful, ye shall assemble yourselves together to rejoice upon the land of Missouri, which is the land of your inheritance, which is now the land of your enemies. Yeah, I can see how that can cause some problems. God himself says that we shall be inheritors of the land, but it says the meek shall inherit the land. Most of the times the meek do inherit the land. You see these things happen, and the people who are left to pick up the pieces are the ones who weren't involved in the fracas or the fighting. I mean, that's just common sense. Now, of course, as we just saw, there are a lot of people who pay the price for simply being in that area. But I believe that nobody is here in error, that God doesn't make mistakes, that his plan is divine, and that there are no mistakes. So, I believe that if it was their time, it was their time. So let's see. The Mormons believed after a revelation that if they were righteous, they would inherit the land. Their economic cohesion allowed the Mormons to dominate local economies, so that made them mad. And economic cohesion, and I've said this a million times, our enemies do this. They're very well integrated. They very well organized. This is what we should be doing. We should have a Christian treasurer. 4 times a persecution, when they say you can't buy or sell, we should be buying and selling from each other. This is why certain tribes, and it says this in the Bible, and cultures should stay together. Yes, you can trade with others. Yes, you can even fellowship with others. But I would not marry into other families, and I don't know if I'd relocate to an area that has people that don't believe as you believe. And now at this point, I'm speaking from personal experience. They believe that the Native Americans were descendants of Israelites and proselytized among them extensively. Proselytized? Is that a different word for evangelized? And I'm usually really good with words, but I don't recognize that word. I believe that too, which is funny. When I've talked to God, He's told me a lot of these same things, except He doesn't tell me to go out and marry a bunch of people. He has made it known to me that Native Americans are one of the tribes. Most Mormon immigrants to Missouri came from areas which were sympathetic to abolitionism. And that's funny because I've told the Mormons that visit me, the Latter-day Saints, I've told them that these were things that I believed, and that's when they told me that I should read the book of The Pearl of Great Price. So, I know that my revelations come from God. I know this. But I also know that that's where the devil lies in wait. He wants to come after God's children the most. He wants to corrupt us. The goal is to corrupt us so that we cannot ascend like Christ did. Christ ascended, new body and all, up to heaven. Enoch was translated up to heaven. Moses' body, after he died, Satan and Michael fought over his body. Your body is an important part of this. Again, Catholics know this. We don't cremate ourselves. These are things that aren't supposed to be done. Our bodies are our temples. We are supposed to be not worshiping our bodies as a temple. I don't mean in that way, but we are supposed to be caring for them. Okay, so at the time, the opponents of the Mormons used a pattern that would be repeated 4 times, culminating in the expulsion of the Mormons from the entire state. Lyburn Boggs, as a Jackson County resident and lieutenant governor, was in a position to observe and assist in executing the tactics described by one Mormon historian. In 1833, Boggs passively saw community leaders and officials sign demands for Mormon withdrawal, and next force a gun barrel contract to abandon the county before spring planting. Anti-Mormon goals were reached in a few simple stages. Executive paralysis permitted terrorism, which forced Mormons to self-defense. Yeah, I can see that, which was immediately labeled as an insurrection. See, and that's what they're trying to do. Isn't that funny? Considering January 6th? Wow, and we're seeing a repeat of this history. And those aren't Mormons. And was put down by the activated militia of the county. Once Latter-day Saints were disarmed, mounted squads visited Mormon settlements with threats and enough beatings and destructions of homes to force fight. Well, of course they defended themselves. Forcefully deprived of their homes and property, the Latter-day Saints temporarily settled in the area around Jackson County, especially in Clay County. Okay, so we basically know what's happening here. And so they said they repeated that 4 times. Now, they said there were a few different Mormon wars, so I'm going to save that for the next couple of videos. We will dig into that. But again, I wanted to be as fair as possible, as unbiased as possible. But of course, I do have a bias. I'm a human being. Thank you if you stayed this long to the end. Please check out the live stream. I will be doing more of those now that I know I can, because most of you really like the research with me's. And you guys can still comment and do all those things. So again, please watch the channel, and if you'd like, turn on the bell and all that stuff. I love you guys. There's more coming today and tomorrow possibly. because I have a few verses to go over and just some edification. So I love you guys. Have a blessed day. Oh, and the high strangeness, I do have a story to add on that channel as well. So have a blessed day. Get outside. Be in nature a little bit. And as always, pray. Keep that vibration positive. Keep resonating at a positive vibration, guys. I love you so much. Bye.